So the project that I am responsible for is the ERDF Innovation Centre. That's part capital funding and part revenue funding. So the capital supported the build of the ERDF Innovation Centre itself and the fit out and the dressing, etc. And the revenue part is to support the small business community with innovation and progress of their ideas where new technology is around for reducing carbon from products, processes, services, in any form at all. Specifically what we've been doing is utilising the expertise of the academics that we've got in the university, and we've got a whole range of academic expertise that are incredible at what they do. And so we're linking up between business and the academic expertise to put these people together to be able to solve problems. So it could be a business that comes in with an idea, it could be a business that's already got an idea or they have a product that they need a prototype developing for, and they might want to do some proof of market, they might want to do proof of concept, and we can help with that between our facility at the ERDF Innovation Centre and on campus, with the academic expertise kind of overlaid over that.
Florian has a bioplastic technology. A bioplastic is a plastic that performs in the same way as traditional plastics that are made from oil or fossil fuels. The big difference is Florian is made of plants. It has 6 or 7 times lower carbon footprint and is fully recyclable and compostable. Moving into the Aura Centre was a fantastic opportunity to be able to network with similar like-minded companies operating in similar sectors, sustainability, low carbon footprint. Everything about the Aura Centre has brought benefits to Florian. Our ability to work with some of the leading academics in the country from Hull University, and our ability to network with like-minded companies was the principal reason we made that decision. As a technology company, we find that in order to achieve certification and validation for our technology, what we've had to do is we operate on a global basis. Companies that are interested in our material and our science literally could be based in Asia and America and the rest of Europe. What we're now finding is that we've had to outsource testing to different parts of the world wherever that interest has come from. Now we have the ability to validate our technology with the amazing testing facilities within the Aura Innovation Centre.
The TAP team were involved right from the start. So back in 2016, the TAP team were supporting the university with the application process. There's a colleague at the university who works in the TAP structure, who was supported by East Riding colleagues to be able to actually make the application successful. And there's a whole host of hoops and what have you that needs to be jumped through, and the TAP team applied their expertise to be able to support the university to be successful in their bid, which was awarded in 2017, and the project was underway in 2018. So I think, the TAP team have got some really unique expertise that have been built up over the years, supporting both internal projects to East Riding, but external projects as well, across Volcom sector, across the private sector and the public sector. So it's kind of that host of collective expertise that really does support applicants through all of the different hoops that need to be gotten through. As a facility, we have commercial targets. The commercial targets are designed to enable the ERDF Innovation Centre to become sustainable. So it's an asset for the region over the next 15 years at least. But obviously, also for the University of Hull as a legacy piece from both Greenport, because the centre was fortunate enough to receive some Greenport funding as well as the ERDF. So the legacy there is really to continue with the drive to net zero, supporting businesses, using our academic expertise and using the facility that we've got to be able to help businesses collaborate with each other, but also with industry and with academics to be able to help reduce carbon from all sorts of different sectors and the race to net zero. So I think, as a kind of a big up to the TAP team, we know that we've come out of Europe now. We know there's not going to be any more European funding rounds that will come out. There's a little bit of funding that's still available now, but going into the future, we've got the Levelling Up Fund, we've got the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and others will come in. And I think if the TAP team can shift towards supporting applicants and bidders in those different funds, I think that's a fantastic legacy of what they've done over the last few years. Because prior to the TAP team, it was Humber Technical Assistance. So the team and the concept has been around for a long time, and it's proven absolutely its worth. So it really does need to carry on.
Craven Council declared a climate emergency in August 2019 and committed to work towards net zero carbon by 2030. The grant means that Craven Council can reduce the carbon emissions from our buildings by 30% every year. And as buildings are the majority of the council's own carbon emissions, it's a good step towards the net zero goal. And we certainly wouldn't have achieved it without the grant. We also have a partner, Yorkshire Housing, and that means that 28 households will also be examples of low carbon refurbishment. So for the households, that includes insulation, solar panels and heat pump systems to heat the houses. In the council's buildings, includes heat pumps, insulation, controls, measuring the carbon emissions and solar panels. So we had very little experience, if any, of applying for European grants or ERDF grants, and TAP were very helpful in supporting us through the whole process. So the first thing we did was myself and a colleague went to a TAP workshop in York. And then as we went through the application process and filling in the application form, which was a very lengthy process, we had TAP on hand to answer any questions or queries or what do we do about this type questions. I mean, we're talking about a 70 to 80 page application form and about nearly 20 supporting documents. So it's really a really big commitment, as well as designing the project. TAP also helped us to take us through the claims process, so to really set us up with the project and know what claims to do. And as there were no real other sources of help, TAP was indispensable in that. The legacy is really important. Obviously reduced carbon emissions, so we're going to be reducing carbon emissions by 300 tonnes every year, and cost savings that go with that, as well as in the council's buildings. They're going to be in a much better state and really prepared and suitable for the 21st century. So with improved insulation, better controls, real-time carbon monitoring, over 1,800 square metres of solar panels on leisure centre and town hall, as well as a very large air source heat pump for the leisure centre, which we hope other leisure centres might really copy. Decarbonised heat in our buildings, but also most importantly to be a leader at the council, to enable the council to be a leader and show the local community what can be achieved in carbon reduction.
Spark Fund, very simply, is a pot of funding that's there to support businesses in the Humber, York and North Yorkshire to innovate and undertake R&D, essentially to help their businesses to grow. We work with each business on an individual basis, so it's whatever innovation they need to do, rather than it being a sort of formulaic, predefined thing. Every single project that we've supported in Spark Fund is different. They come to us and say they have either got a challenge within their business that they need to overcome, or they believe there's an opportunity in the market that they want to make the most of and seek as an opportunity. So they come to us for us to help them scope their idea out, to really think it through. We act as a critical friend. So they're in a consultancy role. My team kind of roll the sleeves up and get the hands dirty with the business. They really get to understand what that business needs, what their drivers are, what their challenges are, what the market is that they're operating in. And they may come up with an idea that the business thinks is absolutely wonderful, but actually the market's not going to accept it. And we're there sometimes to give a difficult message. But if the project that they've got in mind is really critical to take their business forward, we help them to define it and scope it. We help them apply for the funding. So Spark Fund's unusual in that respect. It's a big pot of money that comes from Europe that's managed by the University of Hull. But actually the university and the Spark Fund team, we don't make the decision about who gets the funding. We've got a very clear separation between my team and that decision. And that decision is made by an independent panel of specialists essentially in their field who work for the project in a volunteer capacity to assess those projects. So because of that separation, we can work with each business really individually and help them to scope and craft their grant application. So when it goes to that panel for assessment, it's the best it can possibly be. It's clearly defined, the impact and the outcomes and the long-term benefit for the business is clearly stated.
Chopsticks is a community benefit society, a social enterprise and an exempt charity. We're somewhat rare and unique in that we provide supported work and day services for adults with learning disabilities and increasingly a range of adults with other disabilities. We provide employment, service, community outreach, and we do that from a busy industrial workshop in Northallerton, North Yorkshire. So in looking at our production processes, it became clear to us that there was an opportunity to innovate and introduce a new piece of equipment that would provide skills development for our range of clients, but that would also address some of the wood waste that we produce. Also, in our operations, we have a considerable amount of plastic. And we've been committed to reducing the amount of plastic that we use, and so we were looking to see how we could innovate and either replace the plastic or move on to a much more recyclable material. So one of the areas that we were looking at was the sawdust waste, and we thought that a new machine to produce another form of wood fuel for us, an eco briquette, could work very well. We tested the market, we checked with our suppliers and potential new customers as well as to see whether it would be something that would appeal to them. So the idea was, how could we take a piece of equipment, adapt it so that it would fit within the range of skills and capabilities of our clients, our work team members, whilst at the same time produce an eco briquette where there was no additives, no chemicals used in it. In doing that and exploring that in parallel with the packaging material that's used for the eco briquette, i.e. the plastic bag, we felt that we needed some technical professional help and research that could enable us to identify both the equipment and the new material for the bag. I have to say that the support from the team was particularly effective because they wanted to get to know us. They took interest in us, they took interest in our client, they took interest in what we were doing as a form of supported employment. So they really seemed to understand the whole process, from taking someone in as a new client through to developing their skills and as developing a new product. So the team brought an awful lot of expertise, understanding, customer focus to us, and an empathy, I think, that you don't always find, particularly in our sector. And I think that's what made the difference for us. We felt we were working in true partnership with somebody that understood our clients and our organisational needs.
Spark Funders programme includes 3 separate funding strands. So there's innovation vouchers, grants for research and development, and grants for research and development low carbon. And each has very different objectives. They can do very different things, but we can, in some cases, blend it together. So it's a project that sits across all 3 strands. And the beauty there is that there's 3 pots of funding, which means businesses from Spark Fund can apply for and secure 3 separate grants. So in that very early stage of the project being kind of prescribed through the procurement process that happens as part of the bidding and tendering application process, the TAP team are hugely important in that part of the project development and the life cycle.
So Flex Health is a physiotherapy company. We see both private patients and NHS patients. We see musculoskeletal conditions, so your normal conditions that you would relate to physiotherapy, back pain, sports injuries. But we also specialise in neurological conditions, so stroke, MS, Parkinson's, spinal injuries. And then more recently, and linked to the Spark Fund, we started a paediatric service, so looking after children and young adults that specifically need a lot of care and support to develop and help them develop through life. Being based on the campus, I was just happened to be in and around the university, and I'd seen some information on the Spark Fund. I'd previously gone down a funding avenue and not had a particularly pleasant experience with it, so it put me off grant funding. But I decided to get in touch with them both for Flex Health and Physio Buddy, my other company, and was very quickly introduced to Paul, who's one of the advisors there, and we just started to scope out what the projects looked like, what the aims and ambitions were of the projects, and we worked through the entire process together, and it was superb.
Now run until June 2023. It's gone from having an overall project value of just under 10 million to having an overall project value of just over 18 million. So it's a significant level of funding into the region, and the vast majority of that funding goes out to businesses as grants. And because we're set up and we've got the team established, any additional money that comes in just goes straight through to the grants pot essentially, because there's no additional cost. So that's great, and we're certainly seeing now that the clarifications there around the impact of Brexit, and businesses are starting to see us coming out of the pandemic, and we're there and we're primed and we've got the time, we've got the confidence to say to companies, we can still support your project. We've got enough time to scope it, to do it the way that we would ordinarily work, get it through the grant application process and support them through the next stage of the project, because critically, Spark Fund just doesn't give the grant and then say thanks very much, let us know when you want your money. We support them for the full life cycle.